Deke Cooksley, interviewed by Cindy Taylor.
So when did you and your family move to town?
I think it was 1941. And we came down from Hartford. We had summer, we came down to Hawks Nest for vacations. And then we ended up moving down, built a cottage and moved down to Hawks Nest. And I think one year it's 41.
And why did you decide to move down here full time?
I have no idea why my parents decided that. I was like 10 years old. I mean, it was not my decision.
So what are some of your favorite childhood memories growing up here?
Well, I think, bicycle riding was a big part of our life back then. We used to ride our bikes to school, rode our bike everywhere around town. And school was fun most of the time. And we had a lot of activities and so forth. And I remember riding my bike home every afternoon. We would stop at what now the Goodspeed Gallery. That was a Sheffield store. That I can't remember the name of the store, but Sheffield ran it. Was a manager there, and we would go out in the back room, which was all grain and grain bags, and we would get a Coke out of the cooler and sit on the grain bags and drink a Coke before we rode our bicycles home. So, but there wasn't a whole lot of activity going on for kids back then. Of course, the war was on, so everything was kind of slowed down.
Were you worried living on the shoreline during the war?
No, it was exciting. We used to see submarines, we used to see boats, we used to see convoy go through once in a while, and a lot of airplanes. And I used to fly very low over the Long Island Sound, and you could almost see the faces of some of the pilots when they came over. It was an exciting time for a kid.
Mm-hmm. And what else did you do for fun? What did you do for fun?
Well, we had sports in school. Mm-hmm. And when I was 12, I got my first boat. And my father bought me an 18-foot sailboat, Cape Cod knockabout. And in the summertime, I get up about 6 in the morning, get off in the boat about 7, and sail all day, and get home about 8 o'clock at night. And I just sailed every single day, and I love sailing. That's all I wanted to do. This was before I discovered girls, of course. But
What was your first job in town?
I think I mowed lawns. I can't remember who. I mowed a couple of lawns for 25 cents an hour. That wasn't my favorite job. Mm-hmm. But I did. There weren't a whole lot of jobs around. Everything was kind of shut down with the war going on, and there wasn't much automobile traffic. There wasn't much activity. Nobody had any. The food was short. The money was short. Everything was rationed, and gas was rationed. You couldn't go very far. So we were sort of. I think probably bike riding was probably one of our biggest sports that we had back then, out of school anyway. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. What about when you got out of school? What did you do when you got older, after the war?
After the war?
Yeah, for work.
Went to college. I went to Mitchell College for 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, my wife and I had 2 children, and I decided by the time I could go to work. So I went to work at, where did I go to work? And during college, I worked nights at the Pratt Reed up in Middletown, in Deep River rather, and I worked on different machinery, and And then after college, I decided to go to work for my father-in-law in his insurance agency. And that's where I ended up buying the agency and spending 45 years selling insurance.
Did you work in high school?
Yeah, what there was, I worked at James Pharmacy, and I ran the soda fountain, which was a lot of fun. I think I probably drank more than I sold. But I loved making milkshakes for myself. And but that was a fun job. There were a lot of during the summer. There were a lot of show people here. They would be at the Ivoryton Playhouse or Goodspeed or something, and a lot of them lived over this way, and they would come in and visit, and I met, so yeah, I saw quite a few different show stars and movie stars, and sure, that was kind of fun.
What were some of the movie stars you met?
Oh God, I can't remember the names. They're long dead, long and gone. But it was fun when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to the Goodspeed and the Ivoryton Playhouse would always drop off posters and give you 2 tickets to show that. So everybody could go to the show anytime they wanted to. But the trouble is, you couldn't get there. Nobody had the gas to drive to Ivoryton. So.
And what were your high school years like?
They were different. A little tension here and there. But I had a lot of fun. And I graduated, which I was pleased to do. And then, later that year, I took it out of high school. I joined the Marine Corps.
And you served in Korea?
Yeah, I enlisted in '48, end of '48, and went to boot camp in January of '49. So, and then spent a year in combat in Korea in 51 to 52.
And you met your wife here in town?
Oh yeah, we went to school together, and I think we dated different people, but we saw a lot of each other, and I think we both kind of knew that we would get married at some point, and that's what happened, and we had 61 wonderful years together, raised four lovely children. And that we adored.
How's the town changed over the years?
In a lot of ways, it hasn't changed that much. I mean, they did move the stores up to the shopping center. Dr. Griswold did that in the 50s sometime. And but now there's more stores. There used to be 3 grocery stores on Lyme Street and a hardware store, and it was a busy little street, and Dr. Griswold thought it should be more residential, so the shopping center sort of, most of them moved, including us, moved our offices and stores up to, or they went out of business. So, and then gradually they began to get a few more stores back in again. But the buildings haven't really changed. The tenants have changed. The owners have changed. Lyme Street looks pretty much like it did. It's spiffed up a little bit more than it used to be in the 40s and 50s. But real estate wasn't an active market back then. The houses would be on the market for years sometimes. And I think. Basically, I get around. There's more people. There's more houses, but the feeling of the town really hasn't changed that much. It's still a nice small town and pretty and just about the way it used to be, except for more people. But
So you were in the insurance industry for 45 years.
about 45 years, yeah.
What else were you involved with?
Well, I also had a transportation company over in Stonington. We ran airport runs and things like that, and where we had a bunch of cars and trucks, cars and vans and things. We used to run about 4,000 trips a year. And that got to the point, I grew to the point where it got so big I finally had to sell it. I didn't have time to do it. And as a hobby, I used to buy and sell, flip houses and fix them up and sell them. And I did that right up until a couple of years ago, actually. So I used to enjoy that. So,
What things in town were you involved with?
oh boy, I was on a number of different boards. Florence Griswold, Lyme Art Association, Lyme College, Lyme Art College. I was McCurdy Salisbury Educational Foundation. I was on that board for 40 years and about 10 years as president. I spent 40 years as the president of the Old Lyme Cemetery Association. Spent a lot of years as president of Old Lyme Stores, which was the shopping center that Dr. Griswold built. And what else? YMCA. I guess that's pretty much it.
And you were on the fire department for a
I was in the
while.
fire department for years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stop, of course I wore a suit to work, so I had to stop going to fires because all my suits smelled so of smoke, I had to go out and buy all new suits. But, so eventually I stopped going to the fires, but I left it during the day, I'd go at night. And Ray Smith, who lived right across the street from the new firehouse, when I first started, the firehouse was in the basement of the town hall. And I think we had 2 trucks. And I lived on Library Lane, and Ray Smith lived on Maple Lane, so we were using the first 2 to get to the firehouse, or to the fire, so. And then everybody would get a phone call, and everybody would end up at where the fire was. But we used to have a pretty big turnout back in those days. I think today they do too. Mm-hmm. And today it's always been a pretty active fire department, and a very good fire department.
You and Ray used to race?
Hmm?
You and Ray used to race?
We didn't race, but we, kind of a race, I guess. We both wanted to drive the good truck, the newer truck.
And didn't you have another piece of equipment for the fire department for quite a while?
Yes, yeah, the fire department decided that they needed a surplus Army duck, which was about a 35 or 40-foot long amphibious vehicle. And 3 of us went out to Ohio, to the Army depot there, and we picked up a duck and drove it back to Old Lyme. And coming back, the brakes on it failed because they'd been sitting in storage since 1943 or something. And this was in probably the 60s. And coming back, and we're going down a steep hill, and it was the end of the road, and there was a T down there, so we went through a farmer's cornfield, and we left an 8-foot wide swath of mud right through this cornfield. And then we finally got new brakes put on it and drove it home. So.
But they never ended up using it.
No, they never used it for much of anything. In fact, they remodeled our barn on Library Lane, and so they could store the duck in the barn, and it just kind of sat there, and all the kids played in it. The kids loved it, but I don't think we ever used it for much. Mm-hmm. We got it. I think we did get it painted red. That was about it.
And what happened to it?
It was sold. I understand the town sold it for $50. think there was only one bidder on it, $50.
And what are some of your favorite memories in town?
Oh, goodness. I guess they have to be, favorite memories have to be being married and kids and family and things that we did. That's got to be my favorite, certainly, by a long stretch. And we did a fair amount of traveling, and we had a lot of fun. We did camping. And, we were a fairly active family as far as going places and doing things. And it was a happy time. We had a lot of fun.
Did you ever get in trouble in school?
Yeah, not anything serious, but sort of constant. But nothing. I never got kicked out of school, so I never got suspended or anything like that. But it was sort of an ongoing type of battle here with the superintendent.
What kind of pranks did you pull?
Huh?
You pulled some pranks?
Well, anytime back then, when there was a grass fire or brush fire in town, they used to pay us, I think, 50 cents an hour to take a broom and beat the fire down. So as soon as the alarm went off, about 6 of us that would open this, wherever class we were in, we'd open the window and hop out and get in the car and go to the fire so we could make 50 cents an hour. And we used to jack people's cars up and, put potatoes in their tailpipes and things like that. Just fun things that no real harm. So, but then we never got reprimanded for that. I don't know why, but we never were. It provided everybody but the car owner with a lot of fun. So.
Didn't you work as a town cop for a while too?
Yeah, when I first got home from Korea, I worked as a town cop. I think back then they called us constables. And I worked at Soundview. I worked from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning at Soundview. And the other crew, the other 2 police were worked from, got off at 8. And I was there when the bars opened, closed rather, at the end of the day. I used to have a couple of good friends who were state police, and they would come in about 12:15 and pick me up, and I'd spend the evening with the state police. And they'd be down there. We might go other places too, but they would stay down there with me when the bars closed. And then I also worked that summer, 2 summers, and as a cop over at East Lyme at one of the beach areas over there. And so I worked from 8 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon, I think, over there. So.
And what was Soundview like back then when you were down there?
It was busy. It wasn't as big a problem as it used to be when back in the 40s and 50s, 40s especially. A lot of sailors would come out from the sub base. In fact, the sub base finally put Soundview off limits. They couldn't go there anymore. And but it was just a busy, active place. I don't think it was everything. All the stores were open, different stores and shops and amusement galleries and things like that. But which I think there's very few of those open now. I don't think there's too many open now. And I haven't been down to Soundview in a long time. But there were a lot of very nice people down there. I mean, there were a lot of nice families, And most of the business people were very pleasant. And I used to wait for the donut shop to start open. I would see the lights of the donut shop. And I do about 4 o'clock in the morning. I could go up and get a donut and a cup of coffee. So that was my morning ritual in the summer when they were open. So, but it was not a difficult job.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What were some of the interesting people you met in your business
Oh God!
at the agency?
Oh, there was so many. There was Henry Hull come mind immediately, the actor,
Mm-hmm.
and he would stop in quite a bit, and just it would be a wonderful visit with Henry Hull, and then there was just so many of the artists that would stop in, and most of them were customers, and they would stop in and visit, and there was Dr. Griswold, and there were so many people that would just visit, and it was time consuming, but it was wonderful to visit with all these. I was probably in my 30s and 40s, and they were much older, 70s and 80s, a lot of them, and they used to come in, and I had a wonderful time visiting, but there were so many people, it's hard to just pick out names. And Henry Hull just comes to mind immediately.
There were other actresses and entertainers in town also,
Well,
too.
actually, Sterling Hayden, I had a large model of the schooner Atlantic in my office, about 7 feet long. And Sterling Hayden stopped in twice. Sterling he had owned the Atlantic, and he and his family had sailed in the Pacific for several years on it. And he'd come in and used to tell me the stories about his sailing, and he used to come in and spend a couple of hours just visiting, and that was very interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of. It's hard to think of pull up names, but
Cupcake?
No, Cupcake didn't come in the office, no. But I had I knew a couple of the Ziegfeld Folly girls, and they were a lot of fun. And Norma Terrace was she was a wonderful person, and the 50s and 60s was a nice time of life. We had a very, very nice time.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of the war and all that. 60s upset, but it was still a nice time to live here.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just think that it's Old Lyme is just a wonderful town to grow up in. It was a wonderful town to live in and raise our children in, and we had so many great friends, and between the golf and the clubs and so forth, it was just a terrific place to live. And I know we lived on Library Lane, which was right in the middle of everything, and there was a whole street load of kids for you all to play with, and it was just a nice time to be alive.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.